the PvP game mode. In the previous video, I said I would be covering the PvP, and first off, I wanted to say that, wow, it's bad. I understand it's only in testing phase, but it has so many problems. I think it would be better to point them all out in hopes that they will get fixed before the actual release. I don't want to start the video with just being super negative, so let's say what's positive about this game mode. Well, for starters, it gives an option for players who have every tower in game to do something fun, instead of just doing survival. PvP is much more unpredictable in general than your general survival game, so I think having a versus game mode overall will be positive for the game. I see myself play it a lot more the moment it fully releases. It can generate a lot of content and be generally fun to go against other players, other content creators. I see a lot of potential. That's it. That's the only positive I could find at this moment about this game mode. That's the only positive I could find for this game mode in its current state. Pretty much anything else make it a miserable experience for me. And I want to talk about them in hopes they will get fixed. There's many problems I will bring out, but the first one is just how slow it is. Matches either end in 5 minutes, or they last for like 20 minutes, and it just depends on your enemy. But if your opponent knows just a little bit on how to play the game, it will usually end in a match that lasts over 20 minutes. And that's solely because the enemies you send out count towards the wave timer, meaning that if at least one person keeps sending enemies, each wave will last for a minute, and the game encourages you to do so with the eco mechanic it has. Since there's 25 waves in the game, that might end up in a 25-minute games. Not to mention a bug where wave 7 lasts infinite amount of time, so as long as you keep sending enemies, you can make a match last forever. Literally forever. And the economy bonus, which you increase by sending enemies, it triggers every 30 seconds. That's super slow and just makes every single game feel sluggish. The testing phase for PvP is just super slow, and that's probably one of the main reasons why I didn't have any fun with it. The enemies you send, or the enemies being sent by your enemy, should not count towards the wave timer in my opinion. And the economy bonus should be given out faster. And going to another point, the sending. Oh my god, the sending, it is so bad. They copied the sending mechanic completely from Bloons TD battles, but I feel like the devs failed to notice why it works in that game, but it doesn't work for TDS. You see, pretty much every monkey in Bloons TD battles can hit multiple balloons at once, with exception being early sniper or banana farm. That's the only monkeys I can think of that cannot hit multiple enemies. For some reason, we can send hordes of enemies on wave 1, despite most of the towers in game in TDS being single target. The risk of enemies suddenly sending 60 normal zombies in span of 30 seconds make it that most of the towers are just worthless. Picking any tower that can hit multiple enemies at once in early game is putting you at a huge disadvantage. Exception being Cowboy. I don't understand the logic behind allowing us to send so many enemies at once. Is it fun? Yeah, it kinda is fun, but is TDS really designed for hordes on those early waves? Not really. I would say no. Which brings me to another point, the tower meta. Pick Cowboy, pick Pyromancer and Shotgunner, and you are basically unkillable. Better yet, make 2 people have those towers, and the game will last 25 minutes again. Because if you bring Golden Pyromancer, Cowboy and Shotgunner and support, there's nothing that can kill you. Nothing. The game you see in the background is me versus Wither casually playing PvP, and neither of us can damage each other. And it's gonna be the case for the entire duration of the game. Since we both have Golden Pyro and Golden Cowboy, there's nothing I can do to make Wither lose, and there's nothing Wither can do to me to make me lose. So we are just kinda stuck there, sending enemies to each other, feeding our Golden Cowboys, as well, for some reason, Golden Cowboy can just give you money from enemies being sent by your enemy, which will probably get fixed, but it's still kinda dumb that it's still in the testing phase in general. What else do I say? This is just not fun. Those two towers, Pyromancer and Cowboy, just counter everything in this game mode. There's no option we have right now in sending to counter that. There's no enemy we can send to counter that loadout. You'd think sending a boss, like a giant boss, could counter Golden Pyro spam, but no. Bosses are unlocked so late into the game as a sending option that the opponent will probably have enough time to get his Golden Cowboy army up. And for starters, as I said, Golden Cowboy should just not be getting money from sent enemies. That is just super unbalanced. And secondly, I don't think we should be allowed to send so many enemies so early. While it is funny to send 50 normals on wave 1, it just forces towers like Shotgunner or Pyromass in your loadout, and there's nothing else that will be better. The current enemies we can send just don't match with overall tower balancing we have in TDS. The last thing are all the bugs I've encountered while playing. I admit, I didn't play a lot, mostly like 3 matches, but I just didn't want to play anymore. Every single PvP match I've played with randoms ended up in us having both Golden Pyromancer in our loadouts. So we just got to wave 35 each time, and it lasted for like over 20 minutes each time. Anyways, the bugs. Infinite waves, not being able to send enemies if enemy clicks on it. Do you know, the wait 1 second before pressing this button again prompt. If your opponent sends you the enemy you want to send to him, whenever you click the enemy option in the sending, it puts it on a 1 second cooldown. Not just for you, but also for your opponents. Meaning that the cooldown you see, it is for both players. For some reason, the 1 second limit cooldown is for both people. For you and your opponent. It just depends on who clicks the button first at this point. It is actually kinda funny. The last bug I've noticed was whenever I send breakers or necromancers, sometimes the breakers I sent to my enemy would spawn the small dudes on my side. Which, funny enough, my defense was mainly Golden Cowboy spam, so I was making money from my cowboys by technically sending enemies to myself. This gets more chaotic on Breakers 4, and yeah, as you can see, it is completely fine. I'm gonna say this game mode right now has a lot of potential. It still needs a lot of time in the oven to be cooked, but they have to fix it before actual release, or it will end up like the last time they did PvP. Anyways, that's it. Fix the TDS, please.